just consider 2 nights ago, I'm in Los Angeles at the moment. 2 nights ago, I was going on stage in Los Angeles, and I heard just before going on that Mamdani had won the Democratic primary in New York to be mayor of New York. And this is somebody who is clearly a radical, clearly has Islamist tendencies, has refused to condemn calls for intifada in America, by the way. I mean, it's astonishing. Can you imagine? I mean, somebody who would like to be mayor of New York, who believes that intifada is a desirable thing. This is horrific, horrifying.
And says that he will arrest Netanyahu if Netanyahu steps in his city. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, we would see about that, by the way, because I think
Yeah,
he's
after
getting
Trump's
the
tweet last night, it
yeah,
seems like he would have
yes.
trouble with the National Guard if he tries to
But
do that.
it's astonishing watching it, because this is what we've seen in Britain and in Europe for many years, which is the emergence of radical figures who clearly hate our way of life in the West, many of whom have arrived, like Mandani, very recently. And they pretend that they've dropped their sectarian politics, but they haven't. And they pretend to have dropped their Islamist attitudes, but very often they haven't. And to my mind, all of these countries, Britain, Europe, America, Canada, they're experiencing a little bit of what Israel cannot turn away from, cannot ignore. And the question is then, do we in the rest of the West accept this challenge, face up to it, and face it down? Or do we just allow ourselves to be constantly rolled over by extremely hostile actors? And that's a question for all of us. And I'm in a way, like a lot of Israelis, I'm uncomfortable, to put it at its mildest, at the way in which Israel has been thrown to the forefront by these radicals who have no say in the matter. I mean, for instance, even if Mandani was to become mayor of New York, God forbid, right, the mayor of New York isn't meant to have a foreign policy. I mean, he or she is meant to make sure that for once the garbage bags are collected and there aren't rats on the streets, and that you can get on the subway without being set on fire, um, and or shot or stabbed. These are all good things to do, but like his would-be counterparts elsewhere, Israel and obsession with Israel and Israeli foreign policy and Israeli defense policy becomes the number one issue for them.
Yeah.
And that is really alarming, and it should be and will be, I know, very alarming to a lot of Israelis, because this is too much attention, and negative, deliberately hostile attention. Why should a foreign war be litigated in a domestic local politics?
It's
Except that, as with counterparts in the UK, like that, they cannot get off their obsession with Israel. And I explain at a couple of points in the book why that is. And again, I don't think most people in the West, and I think a lot of Israelis don't understand the depth of the hatred and the bigotry and where it actually comes from. And unless we zap at some point ideologically the roots of the cancer of this, it will just spread. So I'm for identifying and zapping the roots of the ideological cancer. Watch as Mandani in New York in the coming days and weeks tries to counter his virulent anti-Semitism by accusing his critics of Islamophobia. Just watch as it happens.
Yeah.
He'll turn
Yeah, yeah.
himself into he'll
Like
turn himself into the victim, you bet. And
like clockwork.
like clockwork, and it'll work on a lot of people. And it's the same thing in other countries. But one of the other things which I've written about for many years now, I've written about Tommy Robinson occasionally for about 20 years since he first emerged. There is a pattern in the West, which is that if there's a problem, like the problem of jihadism, the problem of extremism, Islamism, worship and support of the death cults, if there's a problem like that, the tendency is for the authorities to clamp down not on the problem, but on the people identifying the problem. And this is particularly the British move about this. The British state has come down on Tommy Robinson far harder than it's come down on any Islamist who has done anything.
Or on grooming gangs, that basically.
If the grooming gangs, the rape gangs, the Muslim rape gangs in the North of England and elsewhere, across England indeed, had been focused on by the authorities as much as they focused on Tommy Robinson, the problem could have been solved. And you wouldn't have something for people like him to complain about. I mean, because the authorities would have taken care of it. No, there's this very, very unpleasant, ugly, and cynical and stupid policy of cracking down on people who respond and not on the problem. Same last year, 3 young girls stabbed to death in Southport at a Taylor Swift dance party, and the authorities cracked down on people online expressing their rage, some of which was undoubtedly wrong, but crack down on people expressing grievance about this more than they do on anyone who advocates such things and glorifies such things. It's insane to watch it. At Princeton University in the US, one of the most esteemed Ivy League universities in the US, the students the other week were once again standing in the main quadrangle chanting "Glory to our martyrs." Now, what is "our" in that sentence? Our martyrs? Your martyrs? You, an American student's martyr? The Hamas? And I say a number of times in the book, just compare these idiot 20-year-old, 21-year-olds with their contemporaries in Israel, who will be not 3 years in to a degree that makes them reprehensible and unemployable, but 3 years into their army service. Just compare the quality of experience, knowledge, life, and commitment and ethic of those Princeton students and their Israeli counterparts. And it's night and day. It's absolutely night and day. And, you know, I hope everything that is shown to be wrong takes a while still to embed itself that it's a bad idea. But just consider the fact that every single one, people like you and I have pointed out in the last couple of years, you know, what are you doing? These international idiots, what are you doing glorifying rapists? What are you doing glorifying murderers and sadists and worshippers of death? Couldn't you find a more nuanced position? Couldn't you find a position where, I don't know, you express concern about the loss of innocent life in Gaza, but you also demonstrate that you are deeply concerned about sadistic death cults rampaging across Israel and trying to annihilate the Jewish people? Couldn't you do that? And the answer for a lot of people has been no. And I hope that the sheer force of events, among much else, will shift much of the outside opinion. And they've got a good couple of hints. I've mentioned this a bit in recent weeks, but imagine what it's like for those people who worshipped Sinwar. I mean, amazing as this seems to us, or who admired Sinwar. Well, Sinwar's gone, thanks to the IDF. Imagine the people who thought that Nasrallah was a great folk hero. Gone. Imagine the people who thought the IRGC were the sort of forward battalion of liberal rights. Gone. The Houthis, very nearly gone, certainly disabled. So maybe the fact that all of their heroes, very nearly all of their heroes, are dead, might demonstrate to those people outside Israel, they might be on the losing side.
Well, how about they just adapt their Che Guevara t-shirts to Khamenei t-shirts?
Well, I did see posters of protesters in London last weekend carrying Khamenei posters, and fine. I mean, if he doesn't die of unnatural causes, he'll die of natural causes quite soon, I'd have thought. And there's another one of their heroes gone. But I mean, imagine what could be achieved in the coming years if, once the military and strategic successes of the IDF and IAF are settled in, people realize that in this extraordinary civilizational challenge and during the extraordinary and horrifying moments of October the 7th and afterwards. Imagine what these people will eventually think when they realize that they chose the side of the rapists and the murderers and the sadists and the death worshippers.